Hello there guys, welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today we are joined by Jeremy Nichols, hospitality recruiter for Gecko Hospitality, based just out of Florida. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, the question you asked me just before we started filming was, why would you get another recruiter on the show? I love that because, again, as we said, a lot of people do keep their cards very close to their chest when it comes to other recruiters, i.e. competition and so on. But I think this is a pretty safe place in terms of where we're both situated in the fight.
Right. We're not in the same pool. No.
Exactly that.
No, I'm actually fine with talking to other recruiters. I'm just curious when other ones reach out to me, right? I do it, and I'm like, but when other ones reach out to me, I'm like, okay, all right. You know I'm a headhunter, right?
But no, so yeah, I just think it's a great way of understanding what the market looks like on your side of things. And I guess just a bit about yourself, what you do, and obviously we'll go into a couple of topics that I haven't sent you, so we can obviously have a bit of a discussion. So,
okay.
So I suppose first, Jeremy, it'd be good to understand, and for our audience just to understand a bit about yourself, I suppose your background, and what it exactly is that you do for your clients.
Yeah, so I'll start with what I do for the clients, and then I'll let you like chop me off when I talk about myself, because I could probably go on way too long on that. So what I do hospitality placements in the state of Florida. So I'm part of a firm. I own the rights to the state of Florida, but our firm is nationwide. And there's two divisions. There's a hospitality division, which is like hotels, resorts, clubs, yacht. And then there's the restaurant side, more brick and mortar restaurant. So I do the hospitality side of it, and I have the state of Florida. I do permanent placements, so anything from an executive chef to a director of food and beverage to a GM, COO to C-suite. So a wide range, but it has to be permanent, salaried, and I handle hotels, resorts, clubs. I even do like property management, HOA, condo. So because a lot of that, at least in my state, kind of crosses over. Private estate, sometimes we do those too. So
yeah, and I suppose in terms.
Do you see that? Do you see that in your world? I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you see that too? The crossover, like.
Yes, we do. I would say one thing I would say in terms of my area of specialization is, of course, revenue management, and I suppose the wider commercial element, including, of course, commercial analytics. But certainly, yeah, of course, we see that crossover. I'd say as well. I mean, one of the biggest sort of movements in terms of crossover, I'd say, is actually cross-industry as well. From my specialization, we definitely see a lot of people that move between different industries because,
yeah,
as I'm sure you can probably imagine, the skill set within my niche anyway can translate from airline, car park, cruise line, you name it. If there's a dynamic price in there somewhere, they're pretty much involved.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Yeah, I see some industries trying to cherry pick some of the hoteliers that are out in the market right now. You know, even in the club world, the country clubs are taking dynamic talent from resorts right now for food and beverage because now they have the opportunity to pull them into clubs. Clubs are doing great down here in Florida, at least. They're fine.
Well, I suppose again it's that leisure aspect, though, isn't it? I mean, I've seen crossover from. I mean, it's the same product essentially, but long stay apartments. So from the hotel side to long stay apartments, yes, the proposition's different, but effectively it's still accommodation. It's still the same product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've seen a massive surge in the sort of long stay apartment side of things for two reasons. One, again, it's an emerging sort of market in that sense. But two, occupancy-wise, they've maintained 60, 70, 75%. Which every accommodation hospitality business right now is like, oh my God, I wish.
I'm smiling because I just signed 2 clients that are short-term vacation stays up in the Panhandle, and they're like 100% occupancies at some of these places. It's insane. They're growing. I'm like, it's a completely different world than some of the niches in hospitality right now.
Completely.
I didn't even tell what I came from. I told you what I did. It doesn't matter. I'm a recruiter, right? There you go. I've been doing it 20 years. There you go. I'll just put that there.
Well, 20 years in obviously recruitment. How obviously did it come about that you started working for Gecko Hospitality?
I actually cut my teeth in retail. So I started with H&M, right?
Okay.
Before they came to the United States. So
Right.
I trained over in Germany. And I wasn't even a recruiter at the time. That's how I got into recruiting, because they started growing and expanding in the United States. So that's how I cut my teeth. And then I went to restaurant recruiting. And then I did sort of about 17 years I did as a director of recruiting. And then I just felt, actually, funny story, I had to get a headhunter for a search because it was a confidential search. And I was the director of recruiting. And I was like so mad because I wanted to do the search, but I couldn't because it was confidential. Right. So I couldn't go out there and say who I was. And then when we had to pay the headhunter, my gears started turning. Like, they made how much from one placement? I'm like, I'm like, wait. So then I started to think, that's kind of how I got into headhunting, is like, okay, I want to run my own desk. I want to do it my way. I want to be able to be entrepreneurial. So 4 years ago, I bought the rights to Florida, and I went into that world. So I went from the corporate side to headhunting, and the first year was brutal because I thought I knew it all. 17 years of being a corporate recruiter, it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same.
I agree with that front. Thankfully, I'd say from what I've heard anyway, I've never worked within a business as a recruitment consultant from the corporate side of things. But from what I've heard, and I suppose what us agency recruiters sort of think of more internal recruiters in terms of the variety of what they do, the scope of what they do, their specializations. It's just a different world. It's a different way of doing things. And I suppose it's just it's the same discipline, I suppose, but just, I suppose, packaged differently. It's a weird one, but yeah. A
lot of it is like, now you eat what you kill. It's like, it's very, and you have to be able to like stay gray or stay neutral the whole time. Yeah. So like when I was a director of recruiting, and I could speak to this because I did it for so long. Yeah. When I was a director of recruiting, like, yeah, I had the same amount of passion and I wanted to fill the job orders, but I still had that steady paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like, uncapped, and you could fall on your face and be a mess, or you could be super successful. So if you're that like competitive athlete of business is what I call it. Like, you have to just train and hunker down and look at how to be nimble and be entrepreneurial. Like, if you have that kind of spirit, then you'll be great as a recruiter, I think. And also know how to have humble spirit. You can be confident, but not too confident. You gotta kind of like always be neutral, right? Not too high, not too low.
I'd probably definitely, I definitely agree with that, to be honest. I think you do get these sort of ballsy sales guys coming into recruitment, and that's exactly the reputation that they get almost immediately. And I do think that there is this, well, we've spoken about it, but this reputation of a recruiter. Nobody likes recruiters. We understand that. But that's, I suppose, what drives us and our businesses to work differently, and how we see things differently. And also, I suppose, how we're going about business in terms of situations like this, in terms of our clients, in terms of our candidates. And I suppose it does bring me on to my first question to yourself, talking about candidates and clients and so on. How are things looking in your market at the moment?
Yeah. So overall, I'll speak to my desk.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed that I'm very busy.
Yeah.
I have recruiters who have full desks. I have a full desk. We are, by the grace of God, very busy right now. But I don't think that is like the reality, because I see and I talk to so many top-notch, highly skilled, hospitality professionals that are let go right now. And it's beyond their control. And other industries have like jumped in some of my posts before and said some comments like, the companies are just looking to get rid of their lessers or their people that are not as good. And I had to stop it right away and go, okay, maybe in your industry, Do not say that in my thread in hospitality. Do not say that, because you're gonna get your head chopped off.
Yeah.
There are VPs, there are directors, there's so much like top talent that just by circumstance and what happened with COVID, they were let go beyond their control. You want to talk about events and entertainment, banquets, group sales, business travel. Doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
They're looking for work, most of them.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty bad. Florida's weird. We're a lot different than the rest of the country. So my season, it's kind of hard for me to tell you how it is going, because notoriously Q3 for me is awful. Right. Even in 2019, 2018, 17, Q3 is awful. Like our Q1, Q2 is where we are cranking. Right. So we're like going into Q4 soon. So it's starting to pick up for me. I'm busy. I'm seeing job orders out there. The Panhandle of Florida, which is like where the Georgia line, not South Florida. Miami is really bad. Orlando's really bad. But the Panhandle, Jacksonville, Pensacola, Tallahassee, up and like on the Gulf, they're doing very well right now. Right. It's a completely different world. But nationwide, pretty bad.
Right. Well, again, it's not overly surprising. Don't get me wrong. I think it's always a question worth asking. But I'm not obviously surprised by what you're saying. I think with the situation the way it is, obviously in the UK, we're seeing an incredibly difficult time right now in terms of placements. I put a post out recently. We've placed in April, May, June, and September. We had a huge dip in July. We started to get some jobs back in August. But yeah, it's slow. And of course, because I specialize in a very niche area, jobs are very few and far between. Don't get me wrong. But I suppose the next question to you would be, I know what I've been doing, but in terms of what recruiters in our market right now, it's been impacted so massively. What could we be doing right now, rather than looking at purely the recruitment element? What could we be doing other than that in this market?
Okay. Well, most recruiters that hear this are going to get mad at me. you need to like really, really turn that empathy like up a notch, because I think too many recruiters out there are making it really hard for headhunters like yourself and me to get the trust of candidates. There's a whole bunch of lack of communication, and there's a lack of empathy out there, and it's very transactional. It's like recruiters, most of them I'm speaking for, they get a job order, they talk to Bob Smith. If Bob Smith's not a fit for the position, done. They don't take the time to even let Bob Smith know. Or if he's not a fit when they see his resume, if he calls them, they're not gonna get back to him. And if he does go through the process and he goes to the first step, but then the client rejects them, sometimes they're not even telling him after that. They're just like leaving him out to dry and ghosting him. It completely blows my mind. So anybody that is listening to this right now can 100% call me out on this. I will not get back to everybody who clicks apply. That's impossible. But if you email me, call me, DM me, or text me, I will 100% get back to you. I don't care like who you are, where you're from, if you're in a state that I don't even work, if you're in an industry that I don't even touch, I always get back to people. And that's a promise. And you go to my LinkedIn feed, I say it all the time. If I was lying, people would call me out on it. And there's a lack of that going on right now, and people are just furious. So candidates are mad. But here's the thing. So if you want to be a good recruiter, right now you're building your network. Yeah. So all those people, it builds. And a lot of the job orders that I get is from helping somebody who happens to know somebody, or helping somebody who gets a role who now wants to hire me. And you have to kind of like not think what's in it for me. You just have to just do good, and eventually it does come back. I know that kind of sounds kind of hippie-ish probably, but it's so true.
Yeah. No, I agree. I had a chat with somebody yesterday, good friend of mine actually, and he sort of said, look, I saw the episodes that you'd been doing, I'd been doing with candidates right now that are on the market. But basically what I've done is given them a platform to actually promote themselves. So rather than clients solely coming through me because I've got ownership of these candidates. I'm giving the candidates a voice to say, hey, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm amazing at. This is my experience. And this is also how I've been keeping myself motivated in this market, but also my advice to other candidates on the market as well. And the response and the engagement from clients, from candidates, from industry professionals has all been, wow. So a recruiter right now is promoting candidates on the market without actually wanting a fee in return. And this is something that me and you actually spoke about, is that fee mentality is sort of almost taking that out of the equation, or talking about the sale, I suppose, taking that out of the equation altogether.
I'm like the king of analogies, right? But it's so true, because what you're saying is spot on. And let's just kind of go, I'll give you a fun analogy. You said that most people don't like recruiters. I say the same thing. I said it to you before we started recording. I said, they look at us like we're lawyers, right? Nobody likes a lawyer until they need one. Nobody wants a recruiter until they need one. A lawyer, they call a lawyer, okay, can you help me get out of this mess? What's your fee? Yeah. That's like how we are too, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. So like if there's a lawyer and he's a great lawyer and he's just talking to you, hey Tom, yeah, I can answer. Let's take 15 minutes. Let me see if I can help you. Let me see if I can guide you without selling. Just telling you, hey, you don't need my services. Blah 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 blah. Here's what you can do to get to help you with the situation. Sure. Do you know how much that's going to resonate with that person? Yeah. And that person will tell a person who will tell a person. It's like slow burn marketing. And I think that's what like turns a lot of recruiters who I've talked to about this, it turns them off because they want instantaneous, they need job orders now. It's like, you can't think about it that way. You have to just have to be all in and work your network. The empathy is huge. Communication's huge. Anybody can be a recruiter, but not anybody can be a great one.
No. I think it all resonates again with who we are as individuals, how we deal in situations like this. And I suppose it's all down to, well, for me anyway, credibility was absolutely everything to me when I first started. I wanted people to understand that I wasn't like the rest and I was throwing the rule book out the window, if anything. And I think this market disruption, with the amount of negative that it's come with, don't get me wrong, it's been absolutely awful. But I do think with any disruption, it comes with the positive. There does come positive change and sort of a reactionary response, which is either a really good one or a really bad one. You either sit in your recruitment slump and think, when am I going to get these jobs coming through? Yeah. Or you treat it as an opportunity to, as you say, build your network, work differently, see the market in a way where you're going to have to change the way you do things. Which actually, one thing I would say for all our audience watching right now, Jeremy, like myself, has an absolutely brilliant YouTube channel where he's actually helping candidates with interview tips, CV tips, a lot like myself, but obviously I do like the thumbnails. You package it really fun. Mine, I need to look at mine because mine looks incredibly corporate, and I need to take a leaf out of your book. But
I'm laughing at that because it would mean it was a hard decision for me to be, because you're in the industry. Our hospitality is very button-down shirt, jacket, tie, right? And I promise you, so I'm glad that you point that out. That was when I first put the YouTube channel out and first started doing video. Right. Between all of us now that's watching, I was very scared, as I have somewhere I'm wearing a baseball cap and somewhere I'm wearing a t-shirt. And it sounds so silly that I had to struggle with that, but I really I thought about it a lot. And I was like, I'm talking to somebody who's like a regular person, right? I just felt like, let me just strip it down, stop putting these walls up. And I'm like, stop, I'm just gonna blow it up, like you said, earlier, just disrupt it. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm still the person, I'm still gonna do the same work if I have a baseball cap on, a t-shirt, and sometimes I wear a button-down shirt or a polo or a jacket. So I know that's kind of silly, but I think it's authenticity. Yeah. And having fun. And I took myself too seriously for a long time. I really did. And I really started to shake, especially during COVID. I really took the walls down and just started shaking it up and sharing pictures of my daughter and just being a regular guy. Yeah. And I was nervous about it, but it really, I think it translated. Like people like were fine with it. I didn't have people going, "Hey, you're not wearing a jacket. Why are you in the industry?"
I completely.
Maybe they are. I don't know.
Completely agree with you. Yeah. So E&Ftv, sort of the way I sort of started it was very much jacket, shirt, tie, all the rest of it. And I think with the online platform, it does allow you to have a bit more of a, I suppose, casual approach. A lot of the people that were coming on the show were sort of open shirts, some of them polos, as you said, and it sort of, I don't know, it sort of enabled me to be slightly more relaxed. And I do think that with these types of YouTube platforms and online platforms, you can very much make it your own space, which I think is such an important element of people understanding who you are.
I agree 100% about the being casual. It sounds silly when I say it out loud, but it was a hurdle for me. Like because you know that you're putting yourself out there in front of thousands of potential clients.
Yeah.
But it didn't hurt me. You know, maybe it did with certain people because I'm not hearing from them. But I found that the people who like you for who you genuinely are, you're going to have an even better relationship with them as a client and partner.
Yeah.
So my relationships with my leads now are night and day different than they were prior to this. Because I just put it all out there and I talk to them like I'm speaking to you. It's very like natural and personal. And the clients that I have are like, they're giving me their phone. I'm texting them, you know, I can ask them, I call them on the weekend, vice versa. Like it's such a better relationship than it was when it was so transactional.
Yeah, no, completely.
So there's kind of a plus to it. So yeah, you might be turning people away, but maybe it wouldn't have been a match anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think with anything, again, it's how we're dealing with the situation. It's how we're reacting and the way that our clients, our candidates are seeing us respond to it. And I do think that recruiters that do adapt in this market will be seen coming out of this as the people to go to, rather than sort of being one of the bunch where you are, you know, have you got any jobs? Have you got any jobs? Have you got any jobs? You know, every 2 weeks, every week in some cases, or speculatively sending candidates to clients when you know for a fact that they're going through consultation periods and getting rid of people. It's just the wrong way to go about things. It's the insensitive way of doing things. And that's actually almost word for word coming from one of my clients that told me about experiences that they were going through. And I do think that, as I said, the people that are being more active on social media, that are being seen to provide actual support. In fact, I've got an analogy for yourself. You know, I thought I'd throw this one in there when you spoke about analogies. It's if your sort of clients were in the ocean right now, and you either are that shark that swims around trying to make that sail, or you're the lifeboat holding your hand out to say, look, we're going to give you a hand. Who are they going to swim to? They're not going to swim towards the sharks, for God's sake. They're going to go straight towards the lifeboats. And if you're that thing, if you're that entity, if you're that arm sort of being held out to say, look, you might not need recruitment now, but that doesn't mean to say that I can't help. I can't help with looking at sort of salaries for when you do start recruiting, or giving you advice on what's going on in the market with regards to other clients and how they're doing certain things. At the end of the day, we might not be the liked entities in our market. We might not be the go-to guys, but I do think that in a market like this, we should be.
That's a good point. There's a tip for recruiters out there. I say that all the time. If I get on the call, I hardly ever pitch.
Yeah.
I don't think I do, but I'm saying hardly ever because maybe I have, but I really don't. It's more like just like an exploratory call, a networking call, and then I just put it out there. Like, look, if you need my services, and I'm not saying and I'll say this, I'm not saying as a headhunter. I'm saying if you want to talk to me about what I'm seeing in the market, you want to talk to me about competitive salaries, you want to talk to me about what kind of industries I see moving, and any kind of, because you got to remember, like, I'm in the shadows. People call me when they're upset. I know what's going on. Like, I might be talking to your people. I know what's going on. I'm not going to obviously give you intel on that, but it's confidential. But my point is, like, we know a lot more than I think they give us credit for. Because I hear when HRDs are upset. I hear when SVPs are looking to make a move. I know a lot of what's going on in my market. So kind of, pick a headhunter's brain or a recruiter's brain. They're not going to give you confidential information, but they're going to give you very valuable intel, I think.
Yeah, completely. If they know what they're doing and they're worth their salt, they're not just going to be a recruiter to you. They're going to be a wider consultant. I mean, more recently, in fact, I provided a soft skills workshop to one of my clients. They said, look, we don't need to teach our guys how to do revenue management. What we need is to give them a bit of guidance in terms of the soft skills. Revenue managers, as you all know, are not known for their soft skills or their sort of relationship building or their influencing skills, which they should be, don't get me wrong. And I basically came into the business to provide that sort of, I think it was a 2-hour workshop. And as a result, one of my other clients contacted me and said, look, do you think we could roll this out to our teams? Because all of our guys who have fortunately kept their jobs, management structures have changed, teams have changed, and now we've got a brand new team that needs support, but just in a different way. And again, if we were just recruiters, we wouldn't be having those sorts of conversations. And that's why I say we have to be that more rounded consultant being able to provide a wider service. Yeah. Because if not, we're dead in the water. So no, I completely agree with you. What I'd say, I mean, as I say, everybody that's watching this right now, Jeremy has a brilliant YouTube channel, so please do. I'll put a link in the description below for you guys to go check out Jeremy's channel. He's got some brilliant information on there. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet. CV tips, interview prep from a different perspective is always going to be valuable. So definitely check out Jeremy's YouTube channel below. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. And thank you. A lot of fun.
Oh, it has been. And to be fair, it's been nice to just have an open conversation. I think, especially between two businesses like ours working in the same industry, of course, slightly different markets, being on completely different parts of the world. But I think it's great to have this sort of dialogue. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Guys, make sure you tune in to next week's, make sure you see who's on next week's episode now.